So still in college, I think I'm like a junior at this point, maybe. And me and this guy, we buy 6 properties total together. And this is all, I want to say junior year, maybe one was in sophomore year, something give or take. One was in the summer going into senior year. But we bought
They're
six
all cold
properties.
calls that you just kept cold calling and finding
They're
deals.
all cold call, cold
Awesome.
text messaging. Yeah, just those basically. And like 2 of them were from one specific owner. And then like, so yeah, they were kind of all random off market deals, I guess. And from doing those 6 properties, 2 of them were fix and flips, 2 of them were long-term rentals, and then 2 of them were short-term rentals. So this time we don't like have a strategy, honestly. We're just like, we're finding someone who wants to sell the property and we're saying, what can we do with this property? Now I don't do that
Yeah.
today, but that's just what I was doing at the time. And I was able to learn so much. So I get the 2 Airbnbs that I did with this guy and a couple more people from this group. They were all in like their 40s. Some were a little older, some a little younger. So I was like the self-proclaimed, like I was going to manage the property because I knew that I could kind of figure out how to do the technology part of it and hospitable and connect everything, automations.
Uh
So
huh.
short story long, I managed the 2 properties we had. And then my partner kept on buying more Airbnbs that honestly I didn't think were good deals. So I said, I'm not going to be part of them, but I'm still more than happy to run them for you if you'd like, because he didn't really know the operations part. So he bought like over 10 properties in a very short period of time, like, I don't know, 6 months to a year maybe, that I was
Wow.
running for him. And then during that time, I then had a portfolio, small portfolio of properties I owned, which was bringing me like maybe $1,000 a month, like nothing crazy, but I'm in college. So it was like kind of cool to have something coming back. And then
Yeah.
when you mentioned in the beginning, I was making $5,000 a month. That wasn't necessarily like property dividends. What that was for my co-hosting business. So I
Oh,
was
okay.
running like 10 to, I don't know, 12 properties of his at the time, plus the 2 that I had with partners. And then just from talking about it on social media, I got like 10 to 15 more. And the additional
Wow.
10 to 15 came like, I don't know, like after I dropped out of college, like I was able to really pick up momentum there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, sweet. Like I'm making enough money. I don't want to do this college thing anymore. I've been talking about dropping out for like years, but I had nothing to show for it. Now I do. Long
Yeah.
story short, um, yeah. So I dropped out of college. Parents, girlfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, they were not too happy. That was a whole story in itself. But anyways,
But she decided
um,
to marry you anyway, huh?
exactly. Yeah, she didn't talk to me for a week, but
The
after
college
that, it was all
dropout.
good. Yep. Once she found out her uncle also dropped out, she was like, okay, like kind of more normal, like I guess. So that helped me for
Well,
sure.
Zuckerberg dropped out too.
Yeah,
So
exactly,
yeah.
exactly. So okay, so how the midterm rental stuff came to be? I was running all these short term rentals. I had 3 employees that were helping me run the show because we're having like constant turnovers, 30 properties basically every weekend. It was a madhouse. Like looking back, it was crazy. So one of somebody that I connected with on social media, it was like a connection of a connection on social media, said, "Hey, I have these properties in Indiana. I bought them for like $60,000. They are currently long term rentals. I forgot how much they're making, but I'm interested in doing this like Airbnb thing." And I was like, "Okay, like I'm down to do it." So I turned his long term rentals that he bought for $60,000 into Airbnbs, and I think it was honestly a complete accident. We just like happened to get a midterm rental booking. I never like intentionally sought it out initially, but we got a booking for like $2,500 a month, and he is thrilled. He bought this property,
Yeah.
60 grand. We're making 2,500 bucks a month. He's happy. So then he's like, "Hey, I've got another property in this town. Here you go. Go turn this one into an Airbnb." So did that, and we started shifting language from Airbnb to, okay, turn this one into a midterm rental now, because that was all we were focused on. So I basically did 3 of those for him, and
And were
they
you
were,
furnishing all these too?
yep, I was furnishing all of them completely
And you were
remotely though.
remote.
Yeah,
Okay.
so at the time, I did not go to the property or even the city or the town or even the state of Indiana one time for these
Wow.
3 properties. Um, so yeah, this is doing it all remotely, finding local people, and yeah, basically set up 3 for him that were absolutely crushing it. And at this point, a lot of things happened. Long story short, the initial partner that I partnered with, he was doing some shady things. And I had no interest in being part of anything shady.
Yeah.
Just to give an example, just because people are like, because I don't know, people talk about like horror stories, but just to give an
Yeah.
actual concrete example, I hired an accountant for like the first time ever because before college, like I didn't make any money, so I didn't have an accountant. But once I started making some money from the co-hosting, I was doing some social media stuff. I was like, okay, I need a professional here. So he's prepping all my taxes, and he says to me, "Hey, can you get me some form?" Now, honestly, I don't even remember what form he asked for, and I didn't even know what he was talking about. But I asked my partner, "Hey, can you send me this form?" And he goes, "Oh no, don't worry about it. Like we don't need to do that." And I go back to my accountant, and again, I'm like 21. I had 22 maybe. I didn't know what any of this meant.
Yeah.
And my accountant's like, no, this isn't like a suggestion. This isn't like maybe you should file like taxes for this property. Like you need to 110% get this form so we can file your taxes properly. And when I went back to my partner and he was like, he still was not really on board. I was like, this is weird. That was one of like 100 examples I can give, but probably the most like concrete, easy to explain one. So at that point, my accountant was like, yeah, something doesn't seem right here. So I essentially ended that business partnership. So that was that. And at the same time, I had enough money that I was making and saved up to essentially buy my own midterm rental by myself for the first time. Because I'm like, listen, this partner thing was great. I'm so glad I learned from it, but I do not want partners ever, I said at the time, or at least right now, because I don't want to have to deal with this situation again. But
Is that guy in prison now?
he should be, and I didn't know this before,
Jeez.
but he has been in prison before,
Oh wow.
and it was this whole thing. It was a whole thing. Luckily, like I got out clean. The investors on the deals also, for the most part, the deals that I was part of got out clean. The deals that I thought were terrible deals that he thought they were great deals anyways, some investors didn't do too hot on those. And yeah, he should be in prison for sure. But
Wow.
even looking back, like I mean, crazy situation. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't at least have the positive experiences that I had, because I did learn a lot from this guy and a lot from the experience. Now that doesn't mean anything he did wrong was right. Like it doesn't take away any of that. But yeah, I didn't just necessarily, go to college and then buy a deal when I was like 18. Like no, it was a big, I guess, progression of buying deals with partners, helping people coasting their properties, seeing how it works from the inside, and then finally being able to do it myself.
Yeah. I love that you shared all that detail, because I think on podcasts like this, sometimes people can get the impression that I was like, oh, just kind of like doing my life. And then I decided I'm just going to go buy a property, and then everything worked out, and I think more often than not, it works out exactly as you described. Like you don't know what you don't know in the beginning. And so you do something, you make some mistakes, you learn from those, you do something a little bit better. And it's this constant evolution. And the great thing is lessons always build on themselves. You don't have to learn the same lesson twice typically, and they never go away. So like you just consistently get better and better at honing this craft of real estate investing over time. So it's awesome that you started that early, because you have so much time to, you can invest until you're 95 years old. So you got a lot of time. But so you decided to buy your first midterm rental. Was it in the same area that the ones you were managing in Indiana, or did you decide?
Yeah, so I had those three that I was managing in Indiana, and I wanted to just buy in the same city because I was like, I know it works here. I know this town now. Like, I want to do this. I literally could not find a deal that I was like comfortable with enough for probably like 2 or 3 months. I just didn't. I don't know. Looking back, I'm sure I could have made something work, but nothing clicked at the time. So what I ended up doing was I basically took all of the same like market characteristics, like the population, like just like the rough, like how many Airbnbs were in the town, the rough like rents, price point for the houses. And I just did like a Google search to figure out what other cities in Indiana can I do this in. Now I just felt like I'm more comfortable in Indiana because I had these three successful there. So
It's a great state. I
it
mean,
is a great state.
you gotta give it to it.
I
Indiana.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree. So I basically found this other city that was literally like 2 hours away. So it's not like the next town over.
Yeah.
It's a completely different city, but had what I felt like, and I still feel like, is like the exact same market dynamics. It had a small college. It had a hospital. It had some manufacturing. It had just some random things. And I'm like, all right, this sounds kind of good. And I would basically look on Zillow. I like Redfin. Zillow is just easier to say, but I basically
Yeah.
look on Zillow and I would just call a bunch of on market properties and just like kind of sniff out the deal. Hey, I'm an investor. I'm interested in buying a property, and I would just talk directly to the seller agent and did that for probably, I don't know, 20 houses until the 21st, or I don't know how many houses it was. But I was talking to this guy and he was kind of interested, like, oh, like, why are you interested in buying here? And I'm like, well, I have these Airbnb properties in this other city. Da, da, da. Gave him the story, and he's like, no, wait, this property that you're calling about is an Airbnb currently. I'm like,
Hmm.
really? I honestly didn't know that. I think they unlisted the listing when they listed the property for sale. I'm like, I didn't know that. How much are they making? Like, give me the rundown. Does it come furnished? Like, what's the story here? So he was able to tell me that the property is making $2,500 a month. And I was able to finally like figure out, I think he sent me the Airbnb listing, and I was like, okay, I can run, it had good ratings and good reviews, which
Hmm.
made me comfortable, but I'm like, I can run it better than this guy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I can make more than that. So it was listed for 130, and I really wanted the furniture to be included, but for some reason I was trying to play hardball. I was like, let's do 105. I don't even want the furniture. And
Yeah.
furniture is a pain in the butt for most people to get rid of. So he's like,
Yeah.
how about 115 and you can keep the furniture? I'm like, done deal. Done.
Yeah.
So that property I bought for 115,000. I got an 8.52% interest rate. By the way, people
Wow.
thought I was crazy. This was the same year, by the way, I dropped out of college. So I dropped out of
Yeah.
college in like January, in I think October is when I bought this my very first property. Never been to this city before. Never saw the property before. 8.5% interest rate. I put down a $39,000 down payment. People thought I was absolutely nuts. Well, I was able to basically get it up and running essentially right away because it was already furnished. It was already operating.
Yeah.
I built a team there pretty quickly, and I've been making around 2,500 to $3,000. I've had months that have even been better than that, but on average, 2,500 to $3,000 per month from that property. And most notably, so that was in 2022. Most notably, literally a month ago, I want to say, I just did a cash out refinance on that property. I went from an 8.5% interest rate to a roughly 6.5, maybe 6.6% interest rate, and pulled out basically 20. It said 28,000, but after fees and stuff, it was closer to like $25,000, cash free in my pocket, and it's, yeah, very happy with the deal. Now at the time,
Yeah.
people were like, "Dude, you're crazy! 8.5% interest rate, don't do it." But it has that deal has worked out very well.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's great. So, and you decided to do midterm rentals because I mean, can you make? Are you making more as a midterm rental than a short term rental, or what was the reasoning behind midterm versus short term?
Yeah, I think a couple things. Number one, after running 30 short-term rentals at the same time, I kind of got a little bit, I would say, scarred because I still do run some short-term rentals today for other
Hmm.
people, but very select properties. But I didn't want to buy. I just didn't want to buy a true short-term rental that had turnovers every single weekend, complaining with guests. The cleaning's always a disaster. Like I went through the ringer with it, and I was like, I don't want to do that. And once I found out the
Yeah.
midterm rental thing was working in this town, in these cities that had properties that were low cost, still made very good money per month, I was kind
Hmm.
of like, let me just do that. Also, the three properties I was co-hosting in Indiana, it is not a vacation town. When I meet people from Indiana and I tell them where I invest, and I usually say I do Airbnb just to make it easy, they're like, "Who does an Airbnb there? Like, who are you? What? Who's
I get that
vacationing there?"
every week when I tell
Yeah,
people, yeah, I live in Indiana and I do have Airbnbs here. They're like, wait, what? Especially people from the coast. They're like, Indiana? Like,
yeah,
does anyone ever even go there? I thought it was just farmers. Like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah,
who are
that's
your guests then that and how long are your average bookings?
so I'd say average booking right now is like honestly roughly 6 months in
Okay.
on average. I have for my single family properties, like I have a construction crew. It's actually just a dad and his son, but they're both construction workers. They are working on a project like 30 minutes away. I have a family who relocated from, I want to say Nevada or some other state, um, for to work at an army base. So I don't know what he does in the
Mm.
army, but some sort of military ordeal. I've had several insurance claims where I host people who lose their house to fires or floods, and I've also hosted a decent amount of people are who basically need housing. These are the shorter stays, but like if someone's redoing their house and they need a
Hmm.
place to stay for a month, I'll host those people. But I do really like the longer bookings. The longer, the better.